I was in Vietnam from March of '67 till late December of '68. I extended my tour of duty for 6 months. And I guess I was very fortunate in that I was in virtually every one of the battles that Alpha Company, I was in Alpha Company 60 mortars, every one that they were in, and I was not wounded. Where I applied for a Purple Heart, I guess I should say it that way. I saw a lot of people wounded. A lot of people were killed. It's something I tried for a long time to forget about, because it's a horrifying memory when you think about it, to have been there and done it. But it's easier as I get older to talk about it and express my feelings about it a little bit. I was at one of my most vivid ones was at Contienne when we took over the position. We were marching in, and there was a fellow from another unit. I don't know what his unit was, didn't know him, but he came walking across in front of us, and about that time a rocket hit, and it was very muddy up there, so the rocket buried in the mud when it went off, but the blast followed the way that it came instead of scattering, because it's buried in the mud. Hit this guy, blew his face off, just killed him instantly. It wounded a guy in front of me, one of my fellow mortarmen. That was my very first experience at Contienne. That place was very evil as far as I'm concerned. We lost a lot of men there out on patrols. We were there for 30 days, and then we left there and went back to Quang Tri, and then about within 30 days we left and flew down to Phu Bai, and they got rocketed for the first time in a year the night we got there. And the next morning our CO comes in and tells us to put on our fighting gear. We're going out reactionary for a cap unit that's been hit. And it didn't work that way. I had messed up a knee, so I didn't go initially. They turned and fought their way all the way in Hue City into McV compound. And that's where they took a lot of casualties. I came into Hue towards the end of the battle, but not initially. I was with them when they went to the Rock Crusher. I think along about that time I went on my 30 days free leave. When I came back, we moved from one position called A6, which was the closest position to the DMZ. It wasn't the furthest north, but it was the closest because the DMZ dipped down in. And we moved from there back over to Contienne, so I actually got to spend 2 tours at Contienne. And was with them when we moved back down south, down to Da Nang, and that's where I finished up my tour of duty with them. When I got back, it was pretty rough for me for a while. I did a lot of changing and married several times, and I finally wound up marrying my childhood sweetheart. We'd known each other since we were 10 years old, and we wound up getting married in 1979, so that was a pretty good time frame